what do you want to accomplish as a member of parliament if you are elected in 2024?
First of all, we have to be realistic.
Push these reforms further.
98% of the global trade. We should pay attention to everything at the same time.
Like from the standpoint of like average people.
What kind of reforms or practices you can promote in parliament regarding this sphere?
There is no time for waiting anymore, right?
No, like the WTO case.
Hello from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Center for Progressive Reforms is hosting a series of podcasts with candidates from different parties participating in parliamentary elections 2024. Today, we welcome our next guest, Umid Yakubkhodjaev. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be with you today.
Thank you. Umid, to kick off our discussion, let me first start with your background. Can you introduce yourself to our audience first? And second, like why you decide to participate in these parliamentary elections from Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party, and why specifically you decide to participate in these elections?
Yeah, that's a series of questions, I would say. Well, my name is Umid Yakubkhodjaev. As you have already mentioned, I'm Dean of the International Law Faculty at the University of World Economy and Diplomacy at the moment. I've graduated my bachelor's and a master's degree from this university and did my PhD research at the World Trade Institute of Bern University. Mm-hmm. So I'm specializing in international law, international economic law, and most importantly in WTO-related areas, so the areas which regulates international trade. In this regard, we have been doing, me and our team. So in this regard, we have been doing so many things when it comes to the WTO-related issues, because probably you have familiar with the fact that we have ambition to exit to the organization by 2026. Mm-hmm. So at the university, I'm responsible coordinating the WTO Chairs project. The Chairs network includes some 65 high educational and research establishments of the world, and our is one of the only chairs, not just in the region, but also in a CAA area. Mm-hmm. So in this regard, we are trying to work on with regard to the capacity building activities. We have introduced new courses on WTO-related issues for the lawyers and economists. We are providing a kind of certain research in this area. And then another very important thing is to work with the public in order to promote the ideas, the concepts, and the information about the system, because public awareness is very important in this process. Then we are also trying to enhance the capacity of the negotiating team of Uzbekistan. We have organized jointly with the World Trade Center of Geneva and a series of trainings for the government officials. So as you can see, I'm pretty much involved in the process of Uzbekistan's accession to the WTO, in the sense that we are providing kind of support, technical support, for the main public and private stakeholders. That's one thing. Another thing is that I'm a dean of the International Law Faculty, and being a dean, I'm involved in the processes related to the educational system. Mm-hmm. So I have certain visions with regard to the further improvement of the regulation of not just the higher education, but the whole educational system of Uzbekistan, the research activities. And I believe that being a member of parliament.
Why you decide to be a member of Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party, and why you decide to participate in 2024 parliamentary elections?
Okay. I guess probably I will start with the second part of the question, why I've decided to participate in the elections. I've been doing so far many things with regard to the WTO-related issues, a lot of activities. And at the same time, I'm also participating in educational processes and being familiar with the challenges we have in the system and the challenges we have with regard to the accession process. I believe that being a member of parliament, you can have a certain kind of contribution, decent, more important contributions to achieving the goals we have at the moment. Mm-hmm. They are very ambitious ones. We need to deal with those challenges. We need some legislative actions. And being a member of the parliament, you will be able to participate in the process and contribute to this kind of thing. And that's why I've decided to participate in the elections and become a member of the parliament. That's one of the reasons. Another thing is that it's not just about the lawmaking. It's also a policy making through the lawmaking process. So I have certain visions with regard to the reform proposals, the reform processes happening in Uzbekistan, and I would like to return the investment that government provided me during my studies, research abroad, and bring certain quality changes with regard to the process happening in Uzbekistan when it comes to the policy making. Why I've decided to choose Uzbekistan's Liberal Democratic Party? I believe that the party, the program they have for the election, and the most important thing, because when we're speaking about the election, it's not just about the program we have, who is going to implement those, not the promises, those things that have indicated there during the 5 years period, right? So I believe that this party includes the experts, people that can lead that reform and are able to do so. So I want to be the member of that team and achieve those goals together.
So you mean that what motivated you to become a member of this party are the members of the party themselves, like not the program per se, but you saw some people who were like energetic, who were like burning alacrity to like push these reforms further, so which made you like to be this member?
True, because it's very important to have a decent team. We have a historical personage, Amur Timur. He became a great leader, not just because of his actions, but because of his team.
Yes, that's true. I have one more question about WTO. Like, I heard from expert, correct me if they are and me wrong, that it is taking too long, like, to be WTO, right? Like, maybe, like, is this the reason that like pushes you to be in the parliament? Like you said, like there are some processes taking place, and you are a part of this team, like based at the University of World Economy and Diplomacy. So, but on the other hand, you're seeing that, you know, like working from the education institution is not enough, so that you want to like participate in parliament and like have your impact in there.
You're absolutely right. Yes, that was the point of joining this electoral campaign and nominating myself as a candidate. Why? I will just explain. The question concerns the timing, right? Yeah. First of all, we have to be realistic. It's a time-consuming process. If you look into the accession processes of nowadays 37 of acceded members, you'll find out that it's a time-consuming process. For the Uzbekistan's reality, some people say that we have started this process back in 1994, right? But we have to take into consideration that this process stopped in 2005. And from that time on till 2016, there was no progress, no meetings.
And no intentions to be a member of WTO, right?
And we have revitalized this kind of initiative back in 2016. And we have to start from this moment, the counting, 2016 and 2024, I think it's a decent period of time with regard to the achievements we have so far. And the most important thing that we have a political will to accelerate this process. And I believe that in 2 and 3 years probably we will finish this negotiations, the bilateral negotiations and multilateral negotiations, and will become the member of the organization and join the global community. To do so, you are right with regard to the scale. Being a member of the university and with the expertise you have, the network you have limited ability to influence the processes, limited ability to contribute. What I want is to have more opportunities to make decent contribution towards the acceleration of the process.
As a part of this team, what do you think, are there any negative consequences of, or not consequences, negative sides of this process getting member of WTO? And as a new candidate from Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party, what specific policies do you believe require reforms, or I don't know, maybe like some kind of change in regulations?
Fantastic question. Thank you so much. But I would just reformulate the things, certain things there. I wouldn't say that it is a negative sentences. What we can do to make it more faster, that should be a question. Because for the last 2 years, we had done tremendous things when it comes to taxation. We held 2 working party meetings. Never happened in the history in 2 years, right? Consequently, amending the legislation with regard to the Uzbekistan accession to the organization. But what we can do to accelerate this process, that's one thing. Another thing is the membership is not a kind of solution for everything. Because the people working for the WTO, they are the members of the organization. And I recently participated in a conference organized by the Ministry of Industry and Commerce of India, devoted to the trade issues. And their experience also shows that in order to benefit from the system, you have to invest into infrastructure and the capacity building of the people you have. Why? Because the organization, the legal framework you have, creates a level playing ground for everyone. And how you are going to benefit from this system depends on you, how you regulate your economy, and what kind of experts you have that you can help you to benefit from the system. Because as I have mentioned, 2 of them, they are recent members of the organization. They have joined during the last ministerial conference. It was not that far long ago. So that's why if you use the experience of the 35 acceded countries, you will see that some of them benefited from the system more than others. For example, China benefited a lot while comparing to other kind of nations. So our task is to make sure that we benefit at least like China. Yes, what we can do, that's a complex issue. First of all, you have to make sure that your regulations are in line with the WTO framework, legal standards, the rules, the WTO agreements. That's one thing. If you look into the WTO agreements, you will see that they constrain the states' regulatory autonomy. For example, we cannot use tariffs as a protectionist barriers anymore, and we shouldn't do that. I'm just giving examples how regulation is constrained. We cannot, but for Uzbekistan, the most important thing is the export promotion policies, because we have an agreement within the system called Agreement on Subsidies and Countervailing Measures, duties. And according to this agreement, countries cannot provide export supporting subsidies and the subsidies that require local content. be a part of the investment, right? So, as you can see, you are limited with regard to the regulatory framework. So, as a member of the parliament, I believe that I will be able to introduce certain legislations that will be smart in terms of supporting local producers, because it's very important. We have an ambition, our party has an ambition, increase the level of exportation. We want to achieve the export level of 45 billion USD. That's a very ambitious plan. How we can do that? By supporting. But how we can support given the certain constraints we have, right? That's the point. That's the legislative actions we should have. Another thing is that I believe that you also representing the higher educational institutions, certain higher educational institutions, and based on our experience, we can say that we are not doing enough with regard to the promotion of the WTO-related studies in Uzbekistan. We have a special project at the University of World Economy and Diplomacy. We have also introduced WTO-related models at the Westminster International University. We have at the Tashkent State Law University, but it's very diverse, I would say. We don't have a network in this regard, a decent network. Another problem is that it should be a wide-scale program. It shouldn't include only just a couple of universities of Uzbekistan. We have more than 200 higher educational establishments. I'm not saying that local universities preparing specialists in the field of medicine should include should be introduced into this process. But economists, lawyers, all the graduates, they should know about the WTO-related activities. Why? Because WTO law, the framework itself, is not about the public bodies. The government is limited in actions. The most important decisions and the most important things should be done by private sector. For example, when it comes to dumping issues, anti-dumping issues, government by itself cannot initiate, in most cases, almost in all cases, the investigation process against certain imported goods that's dumped. Only the associations that's interested in this can initiate and apply with the request to the government to start the investigation. It requires from that association, first of all, to have the association of producers of certain types of goods, right? And another thing is to be aware that somewhere dumping is happening, and we have our rules that can deal with this situation, right?
So you raised about the public awareness. We heard a lot from the previous administrations that Uzbekistan is not ready to be a member of WTO. Don't you think that the reason behind this is that the absence of awareness of this issue, or is it real? Is this real that our economy is not ready to be a member? Otherwise, if we go and become a member of WTO, our economy will literally suck because of intervention of other economic actors coming into Uzbekistan. Is this real?
At the same time, in Uzbekistan, there are lots of skeptics, right? They try to indicate, for example, the case of Kyrgyzstan as a bad example, and they try to substantiate their argument, giving example of Kyrgyz economy. After being member of this organization, they couldn't achieve anything, or much, not anything but much. But there are also some concerns among ordinary people, I guess, that we might end up with a similar situation with Kyrgyzstan.
Although, the majority of countries in the world are members of WTO, true. Right?
True. Yeah. Nowadays, the membership includes 166 countries, which represents 98% of the global trade. So, the answer to the question is when we are ready to join the organization. Then we have spent so many years to prepare ourselves. how long you are going to wait. You have to be a member of the global community to join the global value chains in order to achieve your certain economic ambitions. And in our case, all what we are doing is about the people raising their welfare, right? You can achieve this only by joining the global community, economic community. And the WTO is one of the most important and the only universal mechanism in this regard. So we have no option. And waiting is not a good choice for us. You have to do all the things simultaneously. For example, we are at the moment in the process of negotiation, right? You have to work in parallel, work with the private sector to make sure that they are aware of the rules they have, prepare themselves, their competitive opportunities, invest in the competitive opportunities of those stakeholders, work with the expert community, because I told you that I've spent some time in India studying their approach with regard to the international trade relations, economic relations. By the way, recently they have signed BIT with Uzbekistan. And I found out that they have invested so much when it comes to the think tanks, the expert community, supporting the negotiating team of the country. So we can create those kind of think tanks on the investment activities, on the international trade activities that could provide a decent expertise when it comes to the decision making, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is very important to invest to lawyers, to prepare specialists in this sphere, because it's a legal system. Remember that many of our friends from Europe, from Western countries, and from all over the world, giving the example of China. To join the organization, China spent 15 years, by the way, but sent hundreds and hundreds to use to the centers, negotiating centers, policymaking centers, international centers like Geneva and New York, to the legal firms, to make sure that they are experts in the field, and their turn back to China will certainly use that experience, knowledge they have gained for the benefit of the country. So we have to pursue that kind of approach as well. And the party, by the way, in its program includes this element. So sending youth to the foreign advanced educational establishments in order to promote the expert.
So this is a sort of exchange of experts or scholars with think tanks that would benefit from their programs and come back and introduce. Oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Sure. That's the most important things we should do in parallel. You cannot choose this one is should be done at the first hand, and then we can invest our attention to other things. We should pay attention to everything at the same time.
At the same time, your party identified, for example, bureaucratic reforms, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, like as a new candidate in the parliament, what kind of specific policies would you push to, for example, reduce administrative barriers in order to create more business-friendly ecosystem in Uzbek market?
Thank you so much for the question. Yeah. First thing we should know that I believe that you also spent some time in foreign countries. You also, Tavik. We know that we have done so many things with regard to the dealing with constraining the administrative barriers in our relationship, the government's relationship with business, with the private, with individuals, right? At the same time, we can do more. Our ambition is to promote not just the public service should be done not just by the government bodies. It can be done by private entities as well. privatize this process. Why? Because doing so, you will limit the bureaucracy, for sure. Introduce equality into the process. Outsourcing of the, for example, visa kind of type of activities, right? In some countries, you are to visit some countries, you are applying not for the embassies, you are applying for
VSV type of systems, right?
Yes, the private entities that dealing with the certain things.
And they're more effective, right? They're more effective than embassies.
True. That kind of thing. We want to privatize the sector, the public services, more than 300 of them actually. And by doing so, we want to achieve certain progress when it comes to the bureaucracy and the hurdles the people have during the process. Yeah. And another important thing is to introduce new technologies, digitalize, use the artificial intelligence, AI. Challenging task, but it could be achieved.
So, I like what you're saying, and I understand it. But for the average people watching us, it could seem like, pompous words. From the standpoint of average people, why should they believe in you? I'm asking this based on survey that we conducted, and the most of them do not trust not only parliament per se, but in general the whole political system in Uzbekistan. Why should they vote for you, and why should they trust? How are you going to tackle this problem? I mean, parliament is doing things, but there is a gap between conveying what you're doing to the people. How could it be solved?
I agree. I haven't information with regard to the that kind of survey, but if it's so, the problem is, to my mind, that the communication we have with the government officials, including the parliament members of the parliament, and the electorate we have, the people, ordinary people, for the benefit of whom we are working. Mm-hmm. The most important thing we have to change, and I believe that the new candidates, new faces, let's say that way, the parliament, the young generation of the members of the parliament will work in this regard, because I believe that the parliament is doing a lot. For the experts participating in the processes, familiar with the things they have been doing so far, they will say that yes, a lot of activities are going on there. However, you are right with regard to the communication. Why we cannot just organize a kind of open sessions or announce that these days are open days for the parliament? Visit, please. Meet your representatives, meet the other candidates, the members of the parliament, speak to them, what they're saying. Use the social media to promote your activities, to promote your ideas. That kind of things are very important to change the attitude the people have towards the members of the parliament. Because I believe that most things they are saying that they're active during the electoral process.
Exactly. But afterwards they are passive. I mean, actually I was an intern in Ali Majlis, it was in 2016 maybe. Yeah. I was shocked, because of the secrecy, the whole territory is blocked with these fences, right? And it's not open to the average people. I really support what you said, not only social media, but it should be open, in the US, Congress is open to people, people can come as a tour. They can conduct tour and should be more open to people. I faced in several. I've been in, for example, in Boston. I've been in New York, and they're local congresses are also open. You can see faces. You can see them working, the process of working, and you also can see different, let's say, photos of famous MPs, right? Yeah. Why not introduce the people? Why can't they come and see the people working in there.
Another important thing is the media appearance, I would say. And then it's a great thing that you have those initiatives with regard to the podcasts and other things. You're promoting public awareness about the things happening in Uzbekistan and including the electoral process and the candidates. That's very important. We have to invest a lot, to my mind, also to the private initiatives with regard to the promotion of the activities in Uzbekistan and in the local language, for sure. Local platforms to use for this in this regard. And then I believe that government invested a lot when it comes to the IT sphere. We have very ambitious plans with regard to the programmers, software developers. And I think they can do those kind of things. And being a member of the parliament, I will push forward that ideas as well, because you are right, it's very important.
I would love to see, as an elector, like I will also vote, right? I want to see these kind of initiatives in the parliament. I'm for openness. I mean, like.
Let's talk about this. You brought this topic about digitalization, right? Yeah. So agriculture is very important for Uzbek economy, for well-being of Uzbek population, right? So what do you think? What kind of reforms do we need to support? Maybe like if we should encourage more like climate smart kind of agriculture. For example, when I was in Europe, I was doing research. For example, in the Netherlands, I was surprised, despite the fact they are a small country in terms of territory, but they are also one of the biggest exporters of agricultural products, thanks to their technologies and smart agriculture practice. But in case of Uzbekistan, agriculture at the same time is one of the least effective spheres of economy. I would say, maybe I might be wrong, but what do you think? What kind of reforms or practices you can promote in Parliament regarding this sphere?
Wonderful, another wonderful question. Agriculture is a very important sphere of economy, not in just in Uzbekistan, everywhere. Within the system, I will just give the example. Within this legal framework, WTO legal framework, we have a separate agreement on agriculture, which regulates the trade of agricultural products, and it provides the countries with so many flexibilities when it comes to the domestic support measures, right? So it is a very sensitive sector of economy in every country. And every country tries to support its agricultural sector. Why? Because it's also about the food security issues. So that's why the program and the party pays very important attention to this aspect. And the party, at the moment, the party represents all the segments of the society. I represent the academia and the lawyer at the same time. But if you look into the history of the party, you will see that it's a party of the entrepreneurs, the business community, and the farmers.
I mean, you mentioned a really good point here. Sorry for interrupting you. Like, I always thought that like 5 parties sort of function in a division of labor. For example, Eco Party like supports only very tiny part of the society, right? And like UzLiDeP or Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party supports only business people. Now you're saying that, oh, wait a minute, we are not supporting only business community, but other societies. That's good.
Because the program includes the 5 major areas of reform and includes 500 tasks to perform that reform, right? And it includes not just the business area, it includes the environment. It includes the social life. It includes the educational system, right? So that's why the party should bring together all the representatives of all the sectors of economy and all the areas of our life. So in this regard, I was mentioning about the team. They have created a team that is responsible for an expert in the different areas. So, coming back to your question, agriculture, it's very important. Why? At the moment, we are using this the agriculture is not efficient in a way of usage of water resources. The region we are living in has a problem, big challenge, the climate change and how it affects the water ecosystem of the whole countries, right? We have a challenge, that kind of challenge. What we want to do is to introduce new incentives to make sure that our industries, be it a communal industry, be it an agricultural sector, self-economy, they use water effectively. Good examples being certain countries of Middle East, other water short regions, right? That's one point. In this regard, we would like to introduce a new code, water code of Uzbekistan, which regulates this sphere efficiently and taking into consideration the social realities of our country. Because at the one hand, you have non-effective usage of water. On the other hand, you have some areas, rural areas, where we have not the quality. We haven't provided drinkable water, quality ones. That's one thing. Another thing is about agriculture. We see the agriculture as a way to promote export potential of Uzbekistan. However, in international levels, we have so many requirements, standards, when it comes to the food safety issues, the technical issues, the sanitary issues, right? So we want to change the way how. That's the question. I'm going to explain the way the products are produced. You mentioned about the digital technology. I remember I invited a couple of experts from the University of Agriculture and Irrigation.
So, good things, but how about the specialists who can do this, especially amid the brain drain? Like how can we solve this problem? It's a huge problem in Uzbekistan. Like, people who study abroad, not all of them want to come back as you did, for example, right after doing PhD in Switzerland. But most of them decide to stay abroad. Like, how can we solve this brain drain problem?
That is the most important question to my mind, because the future will depend on those bright minds we have. And my ambition and the party's ambition is to make sure that they are provided the opportunities they are looking for in foreign lands. Mm-hmm. What we can do. I'm not going to be a very promising person, promise everything. We can do a couple of things to make sure that our young people want to stay in Uzbekistan. For example, why they want to live.
No money, right?
You will say money. Another thing is the environment we are living.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Yes. For example,
environmental pollutions, for example.
Yes, that's true. Or the opportunities, the social life, household, to have a house. If a young person have a house, property somewhere in Uzbekistan, it will be very difficult for him to. You have certain things you cannot live, right? We say family, but we want to create an environment for the youth. It includes. It's a complex kind of approach. It includes not just the wage, because we have to be realistic. We have to work hard in order to make sure that we have the equal amount of money provided to those people. But we have to take into consideration that the living standards are different. Earning, for example, 2,000 USD in Uzbekistan and earning 2,000 USD in Italy is not the same.
Yeah, of course.
You can do a lot of things here in Uzbekistan, right? So one thing is the wages. Yes, true. But another thing is the environment, the infrastructure. We have to think about the green aspects of the policy, green transformation, not just in economy, but in the community. Waste management, the system. Creating kind of social areas, we call it parks, green zones, green belts. That's very important part of our activities. Another thing is that development of the rural areas, because in countries like Japan, Switzerland, and some other countries, you will see that person lives in one city, works in another city, and it can do it commuting.
I have a suggestion, like here, maybe if you are elected in future, maybe you will like push this issue, like those who. You're also aware of it because you did your degree in Switzerland, and like those who study abroad, like in Europe or in the West in general, they focus on life, like work balance, right? Yeah. Like it's big issue. Like you want to spend some time with your kids at home, with your wife, right, with your family. Like government is offering maybe good salary, but it's not focusing on that part, which is really important. Otherwise, like you can have, how do we call it, like you may burn out.
Yourself, yes.
Yeah, you can burn out working in this kind of environment.
True.
First, and second could be like bureaucratic issues, especially in national universities. Like you teach in a national university. Maybe you can share experience on that lots of bureaucratic issues.
You have raised a very important point. We have, it may sound a kind of bizarre to include this aspect to the program. We have mentioned that we want to achieve efficiency in the workplace, but at the same time, we want to promote the rights of the people to decent standards. We have a labor code, which includes the working time, weekends for the families and the personal businesses. The jobs should start in the appropriate time and end at the appropriate time. You shouldn't work till midnight.
But there must be a code already, right? But it's not.
It's not about the code. The problem we have a super interesting, very high standard regulatory frameworks. Because we base those standards they're not just developed by our experts, but also based on international ones, the foreign experience, right? But the problem is the implementation, the enforcement. So the party will pay attention to this kind of elements, and in achieving so, it is very important to have not just the public control, the control of the government bodies and institutions. We also should have some public control, the social monitoring system, social platforms that informs where we have those kind of problems. That's the institutional kind of reform, right? Yes. Another thing is I'm just continuing to the things I have mentioned, the rural areas, how we can develop the rural areas. A lot of people working in Tashkent would like to stay in Tashkent because it's very difficult to commute from Chirchik, from Angren and other parts of our region, right? The problem is we haven't created a kind of regional networks that provides that opportunity to live in one city, town, and work in other.
I heard that, I'm not quite sure about the numbers, but let's think about them figuratively, right? So the population of Tokyo during the day, it is like, let's say 20 million. At night, it shrinks to 8 million, which means that the people working in Tokyo live in surrounding areas. They have good communication logistic systems, which allow them to come to work in Tokyo and go back to their own places.
I think there was also news in one of the national journals that per day Tashkent receives like around 1 million people from surrounding areas. Say people come to work here and then they leave at night. So it's also kind of affecting.
It's very near regions, I would say.
Yeah.
But if you want to live in, say, Gulistan and work in Tashkent,
it's far.
Will you be able to do so on a daily basis?
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
expensive.
problem. That's why the goal is, the ambition I have is to create a set of regional networks, because that's the experience of Switzerland, and then intercity connections, high-speed intercity connections. It's very important, and it will bring certain very important change in the it will create economic opportunities for the regions. It will enhance the rural areas, because the investment is going there. You are spending money there. It creates new job opportunities for them. It will deal with, helps us to achieve certain environmental goals as well, the road safety goals as well, because so many cars we have, and how the people commuting to the workstation, right? That's another kind of ambition we have to work on. Another thing is that I have mentioned about the export potential of the country, right? The problem we have when we are speaking about the export potential of the country, we keep in mind only goods, tangible products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We forgot about service, right?
Yes, that's true. We forgot about the services. I've mentioned about the IT. The government is doing a wonderful job in this regard. But another thing is the tourism. Also, government doing wonderful. We have wonderful kind of ambitions, doing a lot of things. But we also have to change the way we're investing to the certain projects. As far as I know, maybe you will just correct me if I'm mistaken. When we say tourism, we refer to Samarkand, Bukhara, Khiva, to some historical sites. But it provides very limited opportunity for us to develop this sphere, because you will visit Samarkand to see the historical sites for how many times?
Once is enough.
I think I visited just once in my life.
Just once, yes. That limits our opportunity to attract more tourists. We have to invest to the sectors where we can get the tourists. For example, look to the example of Egypt. Yeah. They have a historical sites, but at the same time they have provided so many opportunities tourists would like to have. I've heard the stories my friends telling me when they have visited Turkey, not weighing, they haven't gone to a beach side. They have just spent in a hotel room, because the hotel provides certain kind of activities. Oh. It's very interesting for them.
So fun. Fun
is
what attracts like youngsters, right? Younger generations.
The younger generation.
I heard that in Uzbekistan we mostly receive the older, like senior citizens, who are reluctant to spend their money in Uzbekistan. Like they will try to save their money. But if we attract those youngsters and provide them opportunities, they will bring their money in our country.
Yeah, and not just one time activity, right? My friend from India, she was asking me whether they can visit with her fiance Uzbekistan for honeymoon. I said, yes, in winter, in December. Yes, we have so many historical sites, but I was happy to say that we have mountains resorts where you can enjoy the Swiss experience. Jizak region, yes, Zolman region. The culinary we have, the gastronomy we have. So we have to invest to those kind of things in order to attract more tourists. That's one thing. Another thing, the internal touristic activities. Hiking is a very popular way of organizing weekend events in some countries. But if you look into our experience and opportunities, it's very limited. we can work on that area and have more local tourists going to certain areas, promoting the economic activities there as well. And it will help us also to promote Uzbekistan worldwide. That's one thing. But we should take into consideration how we are doing this. It shouldn't be done in a way that it harms our environment.
Let's move to the concluding question, maybe, right? Like, would you like to ask?
Yeah, I was wondering, for example, how would you like to foster private and public partnership, especially in the educational system? Maybe it could be also in healthcare.
Yeah, we can benefit from this partnership in every sphere. I would say that, and I have mentioned I've started this conversation with the fact that we would like to prioritize to give up certain public services to the private sector because it's more efficiently done by those sectoral representatives of the private sector, right? The same true when it comes to the education, but at the same time you have to take into consideration that the public institutions are very important as well. But you have to create a kind of competitive environment to those institutions as well. How you can do this? By creating private higher educational establishments, private schools, and it is very important for us. You have to take into consideration the realities of the budget spending related issues. It's very difficult to build a school for a government because it should dedicate the money which could be spent to other kind of things, right? More important things maybe, but education is the most important thing. So the government should spend money to educational system because we have to build schools because of the demographics we have, and not spend that money to other areas. But if you include the private sector to this process, you will use the money efficiently. Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is the competition between the public and private schools or the higher educational systems. That's very important to provide the quality, assure the quality. Another area of public and private partnership could be road development and infrastructure development. We have mentioned about Samarkand. How long it will take you to get to Samarkand?
By
5 hours?
By car, 5
If you
hours.
follow all the rules,
Which is
traffic
6,
rules,
7, right?
6-7 hours. We should also work on the private paid infrastructure so that the people can have a choice, fast but paid. That's also one of the examples of the public and private collaboration, I would say. So it's very important thing for us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to our podcast, participating in our podcast, and we wish you good luck in this 2024 parliamentary elections.
And
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for the opportunity because we have mentioned about the openness of the parliament. This is very important for us and for me. And thank you for providing this platform to get in touch with the people who are deciding the fate. Our fate would say, deciding to vote for the party for its nominees. We have a kind of slogan, not a promise, but action and the results. That's our main ambition, and not tomorrow, but today, because we want to change the life of our people.
There is no time for waiting anymore, right?
No, like the WTO case.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.